Welcome to Home Biz Tax Talk. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady and the principal owner of Everett Tax Solutions, where we help you win the tax game. Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday. And when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about topics that are important to the small business community. Okay. So I want to talk about whether freelancers and independent contractors need an LLC. Now, there are tax concerns and there are other concerns outside of taxes. However, this is one of those things that indirectly impacts it all. Okay. The discussion, the debate over employee versus independent contractor has been raging forever, right? And especially with the developments in California with Uber and Lyft, and whether or not those drivers should be considered employees versus independent contractors. And it's really bringing a lot of attention to that. Last I saw with that case, it was decided that the drivers were to be considered employees, but I think that Uber and Lyft are appealing that. Blah blah blah. They're still fighting. However, that is bringing more attention to that independent contractor versus employee discussion. And it's really making its way across the nation. So the misclassification of employees and independent contractors, that's been going on for God knows how long. Okay. So some of the rules that are in place are not new. However, people are still trying to get around those rules because they don't want to go through the payroll process of withholding taxes and all of that. So, okay, great. We're going to hire you as an independent contractor, but it's not that simple. So what's happening? People are getting these CP 2000 letters from the IRS. That CP 2000 letter is saying, hey, you didn't claim this income, which is usually on a 1099 miscellaneous, or now a 1099 NEC, non-employee compensation, that's coming in the coming year. And then that taxpayer says, oh, I was an employee. I thought the employer was withholding the taxes. And so then the investigation begins. Was this person misclassified as an employee, as an independent contractor, when they should have been classified as an employee? But what this is doing is also making it harder for that true independent contractor to be an independent contractor. And it's also making it more difficult for people who are hiring those independent contractors. You're going to have to do the work to make sure you are hiring an independent contractor. Okay. And so that's why I'm having this conversation this morning. I was in a conference with an attorney, and her words, not mine, is that she feels like there's a war on the independent contractor right now, and really they're winning. So in a lot of states, what's happening is, like, when you're hiring someone, they're presumed to be an employee unless you can prove they were an independent contractor. And I have my notes over here because it's a lot going on. So here's what you need to know as the employing agency: that workers that you hire as independent contractors, if they're misclassified, they can sue you for misclassification. And there's no firing them, retaliating against them. That's against the law. And you can't make them sign agreements that saying, okay, I'm an independent contractor, when they're really employees. And if you are an independent contractor who is subcontracting, you can also be held responsible for misclassifying these employees. And what does that come with? That comes with fines and penalties. Okay, you can have a civil penalty that in some states is like $1,000 per worker for the first offense. Second offense is $2,500, and third or more like $5,000. That's in the state of Virginia. So every state has their different rules. But if you get government contracts and you're misclassifying employees, you can lose your ability to get government contracts. So you're also going to have the fines and penalties for the state, as well as fines and penalties for the federal government. So this is a really serious thing that you have to be concerned about, both as the business owner and independent contractor. And so what does that look like? Okay. So one of the things that they ask is, does the independent contractor have a separate entity? That's where this LLC comes into place. Okay. So ordinarily, you can be an independent contractor and just use your social security number. Okay. But because of the way that these states are really coming after businesses and independent contractors in a way that, you know what? They're saying you shouldn't have been an independent contractor. You should have been an employee. This is something that you really need to know. So ordinarily, for tax benefits, would be no reason to have an LLC. But in order to really establish your independent contractor status, then I would say yes, get the LLC. And I know in some states it ain't cheap, but that's just the cost of doing business in whichever state that you live in. So there are other things that I gotta make this bigger on my phone so I can see it. Okay. So one of the things is, how long has the worker been providing services to your company? If you're looking at 6 months to a year, independent contractor, okay, great, right? But once you start to getting over that as more longer term, then the question becomes, are you really an independent contractor or are you an employee? Is this independent contractor serving you only in a full-time basis, meaning they don't have any other clients besides you? If that's the case, then they're more than likely an employee, not an independent contractor. I don't care if they're remote workers, okay? You have to understand the remotes, working remotely does not negate the employee independent contractor thing. It may be that you are working remotely, but you can still be an employee of the company, even if you are using your own utilities and all of that stuff, your own computer. You can still be an employee. And again, does the worker have an independently established trade or business? Has the entity filed tax returns? So if you're an independent contractor and you contract with an entity, don't be surprised if people start asking you to see your tax return transcripts. Me as a tax person, I'm raising my hand going, excuse me, somebody can ask to see my tax return transcripts. If a business is really trying to protect themselves and make sure they're doing the right things, absolutely. Does the worker maintain a website advertising the business? Now, you can have the debate as to whether or not you need a website to get business, okay? I can tell you honestly, you can probably do without a website when it comes down to getting new business. However, when it comes to establishing whether or not you're a business, having a website will help you, especially if you're trying to maintain that. And it also asks, can the worker demonstrate that you have performed these services for other clients within the last 6 to 12 months? That means, are you out there trying to get other business besides this one client that you have? Okay. Then it also talks about the having a written agreement. And is the worker performing work on the company premises or the premise of the customer? Okay. So there's a lot that's going into determining whether you have an actual independent contractor or if you should be hiring them as an employee. Are they doing the primary work of the business? I know, especially in our field, in the tax field, we are looking to hire, other tax professionals on a seasonal basis. Just to supplement the staff. But even on that seasonal basis, if they're just working for you, guess what? They may not be an independent contractor. They may more than likely be an employee. And so you do have to go through all of the payroll processes and all of that. Now, the downside for my independent contractors is you lose those tax benefits, right? If you are actually an employee, you don't get to deduct all the costs of doing business. Thanks to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. Those unreimbursed employee expenses is no longer available. So if you are not an independent contractor and you are truly deemed an employee, you don't get to deduct your home office, your utilities, and all the things that go along with that. The tools that you need for the trade. If you got to buy a new laptop or whatever, you don't get to deduct those things anymore as an employee. So you have to be really, really careful now as to saying whether you've got that independent contractor or an employee. And employers, if you're going to be on the safe side, hire them as an employee, right? Go through that process unless they can truly demonstrate being an independent contractor. So having someone that just has a social security number may not be such a good idea anymore. You're going to have that LLC to separate you from your business to show that you are actually running a business. And it's not just having the LLC that says, okay, you're that independent contractor. You've got to show that you've got other clients, that you are the whole 9 yards. So yeah, on a regular day, I would have said as a, freelancer, independent contractor, you don't need an LLC. Now, I'm thinking if you want to be on the safe side and really establish yourself as an independent contractor, as a freelancer, then yeah, you need to go ahead and establish that LLC. You need to have that complete business presence. You need to be making sure that you're out there, trying to grow your business, and it's not just some prop to try to have an independent contractor status with just one client. That doesn't work. So it's not just having the LLC, is that you are actually running a business. And so if you're not, there's nothing wrong with being an employee. It's just making sure that you're getting it right. That's the main thing. And if it turns out that, you were classified as an independent contractor, but you should have been an employee, the fines and penalties for that is ugly for the employer. Okay. So make sure that, in this independent contractor freelance community, that you are really starting to get this word out, because this is what the government is looking for, because they're looking for this tax money, right? Let's be honest. You're looking for this tax money. So if you, as the independent contractor, like in this case I was saying, didn't report income and didn't pay taxes, and then, you're saying, okay, well, I thought the employer paid the taxes. Government's like, we just want our tax money. And so we come into one of y'all and we're going to get our money. Okay. And for the business owner that's doing the hiring, if you're responsible for payroll and all that, you can be held personally liable for those employment taxes. Okay. So it's not just, oh, this is a business issue separate from my personal life. No. When it comes down to employment taxes, you can be held personally liable. And depending on the size of that, you might need to get some representation help to help you deal with paying those, it's called trust fund recovery penalties. That's what it's called. Okay. So yeah, that's what's going on these independent contractor freelancer streets. And if you live in a state that has high fees for becoming an LLC, you got to decide, are you going to be in business? Or are you going to be an employee? You got to make that decision. It's not an easy one. Okay. So I hope that helps you out. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Home Biz Tax Talk. Again, we air Monday through Friday, and you can come right here to get your questions answered about your home business taxes. All right. Have a great day, and I will see you all next time. Bye.